How much money should be deposited in an account that earns 5% compounded semi-annually so that it will accumulate to $6,000 in 6 years? Okay, so the first thing I need to do is figure out which formula I want to use. Now I'm talking about compound interest, so make sure that you don't look at any of the simple interest formulas. When you're talking about compound interest too, you're going to have that n is equal to, because you have to talk about whether it's compounded, quarterly, semi-annually, daily, monthly, and so forth. So that's the other thing that's going to help you pick out the formula. We could use either of these two formulas. So I know that the formula, A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. This is the formula I use to find the future value. So that's the amount A in the future. If I take P dollars and invest it now at an interest rate of R for 2 years. And I can go ahead and solve it using this formula. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. The other thing you could do is use the formula that talks about the present value, and that's given as A over 1 plus R over N to the NT. So you can use either one of these. Okay? If I use this first formula here, I'm going to have to solve it for P. So it's not really a big, it doesn't matter to me which one you use. Choice is up to you. Okay, so it's probably a little bit more direct depending upon how you input it into your calculator if you use the second formula. Let's say I wasn't sure which one to use. I went with the first one because I know about compound interest, but I'll have to solve it for P. So we have, what do I know? I know that it's going to be compounded semi-annually at 5% for 6 years, and then I want it to accumulate to 6,000. So that's going to be the future value. That's going to be 6,000. What's the present value? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find. R is my interest rate, and make sure that you want to go ahead and convert it to decimal or a fraction, so 0.05. And then T is my time, and time has to match the interest rate. So it's an annual interest rate, so time needs to be given in years. So I'll use 6 for that. The other thing I need to do is decide what goes in there for N. Since it's being compounded semi-annually, that's going to be 2 times per year. Okay, so now plugging these into my formula, I have 6,000 is equal to P times 1 plus 0.05 all over 2 raised to the 2 times 6 power. Like I said, this is just one way of doing it. If you want, you can use this formula. If you use this formula, you'll have P, which we don't know. And then I have 6,000 all over 1 plus 0.05 over 2 raised to the 2 times 6. So if you use the second formula, like I said, you need to crunch your numbers. I would definitely recommend working out your denominator first, and then you can take 6,000 divided by your answer. Okay, so I'm going to come back over this way here. I'm going to do it the harder way. So on the left-hand side, I've got 6,000. I got equals to P, and now I have to figure out what this number is here. The order that you do it on your calculator is important, and it also may vary depending upon your calculator. So, like I said, you may know some shortcuts. You may have to do it slightly differently. So if you're having calculator issues, send me an email, but tell me which calculator you're using. Okay. So regardless of the calculator, if you just follow the order of operations, it should work. So I can take 0.05 divided by 2. And so I'll have 1 plus 0.025, and then to the 12th power. And then I add that to the 1, so I get 0.025 to the 12th power. Now I have to raise it to the exponent first. So when I take 1.025 and I raise it to the 12th power, I get 1.34 and a bunch of other stuff. Do not round off. If you round off too early, your answer is going to be off by a little bit, sometimes by a lot. Okay, so do not round. Keep all these digits on your calculator. But now I have to go ahead, and since I'm solving it for P, I have to divide both sides by that 1.34, all that stuff. Okay, and so pushing that into my calculator, I end up with 4461.3353, more digits. I'm asked to round off to the nearest penny, so I want to go out one extra spot. The 5 says round up. So I'm going to have $4,461.34. And that's going to be my final answer. So that's how much I need to invest today in order to have $6,000 in 6 years. Number 36. Okay, I've got several pieces on this one. So I'm given the price of the home is $270,000. The bank's going to require 15% down payment. I'm going to pay 3 points at the time of closing. And the cost of the home is financed with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage of 6%. Okay, so let's go through the following questions here. So I want to find the required down payment. So remember that your down payment is going to be, you know, they told us here it has to be 15%. So what is 15% of the payment, or the price of the home? So in this case here, I'm going to take 0.15 times the price of the home is $270,000. So 0.15 times $270,000, I'm going to get $40,500. So that is my down payment. The next question I'm asked is to find the amount of the mortgage. So remember that the mortgage, that's the amount I need to take a loan out for. That's going to be the price of the home minus the down payment. So in this case here, the price of the home, I have $270,000. And then I just computed the down payment to be $40,500. So I need to go ahead and get a loan for $229,000 and $500. So $229,500. So that's going to be the cost of my mortgage. Now how about points? So points is the percentage that you're going to pay at closing. So 1 point is 1%, 2 points is 2%. And here we're told that we're going to have 3 points. So I'm going to take 3% of my mortgage, whatever the loan is. So for this particular case, then I'm going to have my 0.03. That's my 3%. And then times my mortgage amount, which was $229,500. So multiplying those two together, I get $6,885. So that's what I'm going to have to pay for points. That's a lot. Okay, so I'm continuing. Okay, so D, find the monthly mortgage payment. Okay, so this is the big one. This is the one that's going to require the formula. So go scan your formula sheet, and like I said, we're trying to find the payment. So if you look in the formula sheet, there's that one near the bottom that has PMT. That should help you remember that that one's for payment. And so it's a big formula. So I got P times R over N. That's my numerator. And in the denominator, I'm going to have 1 minus, and then I have the quantity 1 plus R over N raised to the negative NT. All right, so for a lot of students, even if they have the correct values here, plugging in the calculator is another issue. So again, if you feel like you have the correct numbers, send me a picture, tell me which calculator you're using, and I'll help work you through it. Okay, so first, what numbers do I plug in? So my principal here is going to be my mortgage to $229,500. Then I have R over N. My interest rate is going to be 6%. So remember, it's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 6%. So I have 0.06, and then it's a monthly payment, so over 12. So they're going to be 12 periods. And then in the denominator, I got 1 minus, and then in parentheses, 1 plus my interest rate, so 0.06. N is still 12, and then a negative, so NT, so 12 times a year, and then the time is going to be for 30 years. This is what you got to plug into your calculator. There's a couple, like I said, tricks of doing it. If you have an answer key or memory storage on your calculator, I would recommend working at the numerator. Store that number or just write it down and then work out the denominator. So in the numerator, when I'm plugging this in, I have to take my $229,500 times 0.06 divide by 12. Do not round your numbers until you get to the very, very end. So I get 1147.5. That's my numerator. In the denominator, again, same with the last problem. So you got to be careful about the order. So I'm going to have to take my 0.06 divided by 12 equals plus 1 equals. Now I'm going to raise that to the negative 360 power equals, and then I have to subtract this quantity from 1, and I will get 0.83395 and a bunch more decimals. Okay. So for my last step, I need to go ahead and take the numerator, divide it by the denominator. And again, this is where if you have, the answer recall button in your calculator, you can just take, you can put in the numerator and then say divided by last answer. So I get 1375.9684 and so forth. And then if I round this off to the nearest whole penny, I get $1,375 and then 97 cents. So that'll be my monthly mortgage payment right there. Okay, one more part to go. For E, they're asking me to find the total cost of interest over the 30-year period and then round this to the nearest dollar. Okay, so how do we find that? I want to know my total interest. So total interest means, I don't want to include what goes towards the principal. So what I could do is figure out the total that I paid, and then minus that, the mortgage, because that wasn't interest. So how much do I pay altogether? Well, my monthly payments, I get $1,375.97. I'm going to pay that every month, so for 12 months, and then for 30 years. That's going to be my total, which is, multiplying all that together, I get $495,349.2. And then I have to subtract from that the mortgage, so it's $229,500, which would give me a grand total of $265,849. So that's how much you paid in interest. So almost the original price of the house. Okay, so like I said, think about being familiar with the formula sheet, and then also try to determine if your errors, if you're making errors, if it's with rounding or how you're plugging it into your calculator. I can help you out with both of those, but just let me know which calculator you're using. Okay, number 10. We're asked to find the gross income, the adjusted gross income, and the taxable income. Okay, actually I'm not going to need this formula over here right now. Okay, so again, checking on your formula sheet, some of the stuff is listed there. So become familiar with the formula sheet, know what's on there, what you have to know, and what you have to just recognize. Okay, so for the first part, we know that your gross income is going to be all of your income. So it's going to be your wages plus any other income. So in this case here, I know that the wages earned will be $60,800, and then I also received $850 in interest from my savings account, so plus $850. So my gross income is going to be $61,650. Now I need to go ahead and find my adjusted gross income. So my adjusted gross, okay, we're told that's my gross income minus the adjustments. So my gross income, I just computed that, so that's going to be, well, let me go ahead and just put that in here. So it's going to be my gross minus my adjustments. So my gross income, we said, was $61,650. And what do I have for adjustments? So coming up through here, we talked about that. Let's see, I contributed $2,400 to a tax deferred retirement plan. So those are going to be my adjustments right there. So minus $2,400. And so my adjusted gross is going to be $59,250. Okay, so I'm not going to pay on that $2,400 that I invested in the tax deferred plan. All right, now the last one I'm asked to do is find my taxable income. So your taxable income, notice, is your adjusted gross. So my taxable income is my adjusted gross minus my any exemptions and deductions. Okay, so do I have any exemptions or deductions? So coming on up here, a personal exemption of $3,500, and I had deductions totaling $5,830. So now I take my adjusted gross, which is $59,250, minus, okay, so my exemptions we said was $3,500, and my deductions for $5,830. So this means I have $59,250 minus $9,330, which give me a grand total of $49,920. And that will be my taxable income. Use the 2012 FICA tax rates in the table below to solve the problem. So if you are self-employed and earn $148,000, what are your FICA taxes? Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what my FICA taxes are. Now it depends on who I am, you know, how I'm filing, and what rates I pay at. So I'm told that I'm self-employed. So self-employed, so this first one is employee rates, matching rates paid by the employer, and then I have self-employed rates. So this is the one I want to use right here. These are the ones I'm going with. Okay, and now notice it tells you that you're going to pay a certain amount on the first $110,000. So if you make $110,000 or less, you're paying on that portion at 13.3%. Any amount over that, you're going to pay 2.9% on. So if I make less than $110,000, I'm only going to be paying at the 13.3%. If I'm paying above that, then I pay a certain point at the higher rate, and then the excess at the 2.9%. Okay, so I make $148,000. So I'm going to be paying a part at each percent. Okay, so I'm going to be paying 13%. So it's 13.3% on the first $110,000, and then I have to pay 2.9% on any excess of that. And so I have 148,000 minus 110,000. So just that part I'm going to pay at the 2.9%. So I've got 0.133 times 110 plus 0.029 times, and this will be 38,000. Okay, so running these up through my computer, through my calculator, I've got 0.133 times my 110,000. That's going to give me 14,630. And then the 0.029 times my 38,000 gives me 1,102. And so adding these two together, my total FICA taxes will be $15,732. Okay, so just two things to remember. This one is make sure that you first identify which column you're using. You know, are you self-employed or employee? Are you, the employee's rate, or are you the employer? And then the other thing you need to do is, again, if you are making, above this limit, in this case here, like 110,000, you're only going to be paying the difference at the other rate. For number 11, use the table to calculate the tax owed. Okay, so I'm going to have to figure out my taxes. Again, it's going to depend on, we have a number of different columns depending upon, who it is. So first I notice that I am a married couple filing jointly. So married couple filing jointly, I'm going to be using this column right here. Okay, and so now I want to know what else I have. I have a income of $400,000 and a $5,500 tax credit. So when I want to go ahead and compute my my income tax, that's equal to the tax computation minus my credits. And again, that part's on the formula sheet. Now the tax computation, that's really involved. And the credits, we were given the credits in this case here. So I got to figure out, how do I compute my tax computation? All right, so that's going to come up here. Now notice, very similar to the FICA taxes, on the first $17,400, I'm looking right here, the first $17,400 I'm going to be paying at 10%. Okay. So if I make $17,400 or less, then I'm just going to pay whatever that is at the 10%, and I'm done. If I make more than that, then I'm going to have to, use some of these other interest rates as well. Okay, I'm making $400,000, so I'm going to be going all the way through these. Notice that the highest one right here is at $388,000, and I'm over that one, so I'll be using all of these. This is going to be a lot of work. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to have 10%, so 0.10 times 17,400, and that'll give me 1740. For my second rate, so at 15%, so 0.15, I'm going to be paying any amount that's between those two numbers. So between here, I'm going to have to pay at the 0.15%. Since I'm making above that, I'm going to be paying whatever the difference is between the upper and the lower limit. So 70,700 minus 17,400. So I'm going to have to be paying 0.15 times 53,300. And that's going to give me 7,995. And again, if I made somewhere below 700,000, I'd stop right there. I got to keep going. So my next tax break is at, or tax bracket is at 25%. And since I'm above that, I'm going to go ahead and pay 25% on whatever's in that range. So 142,700 minus the 70,700. So 0.25 times, and let's see, that difference is $72,000. And so I will have a tax of $18,000 for that portion of my income. All right, 28%. And again, the upper limit here is 217,000. I'm making above that, so I have to keep going. So 217,450 minus the lower end, so 142,700. So 0.28 will be paid on $74,750. So on my calculator, 0.28 times $74,750 is going to give me $20,930. And I would not put one this long on your test. Okay, so another bracket. So 0.33. Again, I'm still above this amount, so I have to keep going. And so paying it just on the difference. So I'm going to have to take my $388,350 minus the $217,450. So I'm going to be paying 33% on $170,900, which turns out to be $56,397. And now going to the last one here, I've got anything over 388 is going to be paid at 35%. So 0.35 times my income, 400,000, minus the 388, 350. So 0.35 times the 11,650, which will give me $4,077.50. Okay, now I have to total all these up. Don't forget this one here. So I got to total all these. I'll put this over here so I don't forget it. Okay, so adding up all those together, that's going to give me $109,139.50. So that's my tax computation. Okay, so my income tax is going to be my tax computation. So it's the 139.50, and then minus my credits. And remember, we were given a tax credit of $5,500. And so this turns out to be $103,639.5. So $103,639.50. That is my income tax. Okay, so again, just a couple of short notes about this one. Make sure that first you identify which column to be using. So here it was married, filed jointly. And then you're going to have to use however many tax brackets you need to cover your income. So in this case here, my income was really high, $400,000. So I had to go through all of these. Okay. If I had only made $70,000, then I would have only used the first two. Okay, so for number 12, I'm again asked to find the tax owed. So I need to figure out what the taxes owed are. And it's a little bit different than the last one in that the previous question I was given my taxable income, and here I'm not. So I'm going to have to compute my taxable income before I can figure out what my income tax is. So again, my income tax is going to be my tax computation minus my credits. In order to do my tax computation, I need to figure out what my taxable income is. All right. So first, my taxable I got to figure out my taxable income. So I have my using this part here. So I have my adjusted gross is going to be equal to, so let's see, I have my gross income is $35,000. And then do I have any adjustments? I'm like, yep, I have $3,000 adjustment. So minus my $3,000. So I'm going to have $32,000. So my taxable income is going to be my adjusted gross minus any exemptions and deductions. So do I have any exemptions or deductions? So now I have to come up here and figure out that part. So I said, well, I don't have any tax credits here, but how about my deductions? So if you add these two together, that gives me $4,500. But then what is my standard deduction? Okay, so I'm a single female with no dependents. So a single female right here. I'm using this column. The standard deduction is $5,950. Since that's greater than my individual deductions that I had up here, I'm going to go with that one. That one's higher. So I'm going to go ahead and take my taxable income then. Is going to be my adjusted gross. So that's $32,000. And then minus my exemption of $5,950. And this is going to give me a total of $22,250. Okay, so that's the amount I'm going to be working with. Okay, so that's the part that I'm going to figure out my computation for. All right, so let me make sure I separate a little space here. Now, looking at this table up here, and again, I am a single female, no dependents. So I'm working with this first column. My taxable income is $22,250. So I'm going to have to use the first one. And then notice that I fall somewhere here between the second one. So I'm going to pay part at 10% and part at 15%. Okay, so my tax computation is going to be, so at the 10%, so 0.10, I'm going to be paying $8,700 at the 10%. And then at 15%, okay, whatever portion of my income is above that. So I'm going to take my income, $22,250, minus the part I've already paid. So $22,250 minus the $8,700. Okay. So now working these numbers out here, I'm going to get 870 plus, then I have the 22,250, I'll just write it out, 0.15, That's going to be 13,550. So I get 870 plus, and then the 0.15 times the 13,550 is going to give me 2032.5. And so my total tax computation is going to be 2902.50. All right, so now I'm ready to go ahead and figure out what my income tax is. So remember that my income tax right here is going to be my tax computation, in this case here, 2902.50 minus my credits. Well, I had no credits, so minus 0. And so my final income tax is going to be $2,902.50. Okay, so again, like this one here, figuring out the tax computation was a little bit nicer because I only had to use 2 brackets, but I had more work on the front end. I had to first figure out my my income, my taxable income. So I had to figure out my adjusted growth, and I had to compute exemptions and deductions. So it's really kind of like 3 problems in one. Again, anything I give you on your exam would probably be just one of these pieces, not all 3 in one time.